everyone. Welcome to this amazing conversation that we're just about to have. My name is Benny Wallington, and I'm the head storyteller at Positive Prime. We've got Kim Serafini, founder and CEO of Positive Prime, on the line. And we've also got Vari McGowen, who is an avid Positive Primer and does amazing work within the educational industry. And also, we just wanted to get her on to have a really great chat about how positive priming is such an important part of her life, and also as a teacher, an important part of the children that she guides. I'd love to start off with just a little bit of an intro about what is positive priming, because some people out there may not have heard of it before. And so I'd love to throw to Kim with a little bit of an introduction to herself, and also about what positive priming is, and also a little bit about the technology that she's created.
Thank you so much, Benny. It's an honor, privilege, and pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for this beautiful conversation we're about to embark on with Vari McGowen, who is a fellow Australian. And you may have noticed we've all got Australian accents, even though Positive Prime at the moment has tens of thousands of members who are actually based in North America mostly, thousands in Europe, and very few in Australia and New Zealand at this point in time. We are actually growing rapidly though. And so it's going to be rare that you're going to hear our guests actually with Australian accents, but I love it. Homegrown, starting from scratch. So I am actually a best-selling author of a book called I Am Grateful for Life. I've been on an extraordinary journey over the last 20 years as an entrepreneur, and I've had some pretty significant highs and lows. And one thing that I definitely understand is that how I'm feeling really enables or disables me. And what I'm thinking about my own abilities, talents, skills, gifts, experience either empowers me or it disempowers me. And so I set about creating an actual intervention or a tool or an activity or an exercise for myself, first and foremost. And then I shared it with hundreds of clients who had extraordinary, really rather exceptional, remarkable reactions to it. And as I was observing and witnessing these very elegant changes occurring for people in very rapid ways, I got more and more excited and decided to actually really develop this as a software platform. So I didn't start out with the dream of becoming I suppose like a tech entrepreneur, but in fact, of course, that's what I've become. So what is this activity? I want you to imagine that you're sitting inside this beautiful experience. It's emotionally evocative, and you've got 1,000 flashcards or slides that actually flow in front of your eyes. And every single one of these is very specifically and carefully created. There are amazing photographs, soul-stirring photographs, heartwarming photographs, and there are also rather interesting self-fulfilling prophecies, or as Anthony Robbins might call them, incantations. Some others might call them affirmations or affirmations. There's a mix and a jumble of mantras, and essentially they're short phrases that are designed to have you go through a reflection process that allows you to tap into your own inner genius. Now, having said that, we have actually begun working with hundreds of New York Times best-selling authors and amazing psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, educators, and we've been creating content that sits on our platform. So we're a little bit like, you can come to us and watch a visual version of a summary of an amazing book. What I can tell you at the end of the day is when I'm feeling like I need just a little bit of preparation to actually allow me to be my best, I watch a Positive Prime session. That's actually what we call these exercises or these activities. They're sessions. And I just literally press play and allow myself to be indulged in something that is really enriching me. And I invite you to try it out. Everybody on the planet can actually go for a test drive. It's absolutely free for their first 7 days. All of the functionality is unlocked so that you can get the full experience. And I think you'll be really quite amazed. What I do know is consistent effort over at least a couple of months or a couple of years should see you transform beyond anything you could have imagined was possible for you, that I know because of my own evolution and the way that I've emerged. And I just enjoy life so much more now. There's bliss and harmony, and there's fun, and there's playfulness, as well as creative expression, and indeed success. So come on the journey with us, positively prime yourself, and let's hear from Benny what he thinks about positive prime. And I'm sure he's just about to ask Vari the same question.
So yeah, I'm really keen to ask Vari about positive prime and how she positively primes for a day. But for me, as one of my other hats is a peak performance coach with the Flow Genome Project, which is an amazing company out of the US. And I'm always talking about how are we setting ourselves up for success. And so when we think about the term positive prime, how am I starting my day or going into my next activity? How am I matching my state to my challenge to my state in a positive way? So how am I priming my body and my mind and my heart and my soul to show up in the best way possible? And so I always have a nice metaphor, which is what's our on-ramp? And so you might have on-ramps like meditation or going for a walk, or for me, it's surfing. And then when I hit that highway, how am I making sure that I am in that state? Like I just said, that's the best to deal with anything that might come up. And what really excites me about positive prime is this is something that we can do from anywhere. So within these times where we might not have access to, I might not be able to go surfing because of whatever's going on in the town. I might not feel like I want to do breathwork or meditation because it just doesn't feel aligned at the time. Positive prime really just allows me to step straight into a space where I'm encapsulated in the moment, and it draws me into these feelings of positivity. And I've been having some really, really wild experiences using other forms of tech as well. But it's as simple as just having your phone or your laptop in front of you. And that's what I love about it. And what I really love about Vari and her story is how she's applying it in her life. And I'm going to let her tell that story. And also the effect that positively priming ourselves can have on the future generations. So I'd like to throw over to Vari. If you want to just tell us a little bit about your story, emotional resilience, and thrivability have been huge. You're a survivor, which Kim is also a survivor. So I can see why you guys have such resonant conversations and really light up when you're talking about each other. So yeah, I'd love to just throw over to you and just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kim, for this opportunity. Benny, absolutely wonderful to be here with you and be part of this storytelling conversation. All I can say is positive prime is easy, life is not. And I guess that really sums it up in a nutshell that, as most people, they don't go through life on this smooth path. It's not all, plain sailing and easy street. So obviously I have endured some traumatic events in my life and have overcome them. And I can't tell you why, but after doing a lot of research and study, the positive psychologists will say that it was post-traumatic growth, not post-traumatic stress. So I guess that's where my whole journey began, that, you can be hit down so many times, but you have to be able to get back up. So once I went through a very bad traumatic marriage breakup, I had 2 sons who had endured all that goes along with that, as I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. And how was I going to make their lives easier in amongst all this turmoil? So that began me on my never-ending search for knowledge of how to make these boys' lives easier. So I went about doing some study with a psychologist here in Brisbane and was one of her facilitators for her program. And then a girlfriend of mine said, I think we can do this better, Vari. So we went about and created our own social emotional resilience program for children, which was highly regarded. The feedback was amazing from both parents and children. However, I was then studying at university. I was a single mum. I had no money. I was time poor. So I wasn't able to sustain that. So I had to eventually end up in a classroom where I took all my skills with me. And even though my core business is academic, I can't help but think that well-being and resilience and those so-called soft skills have to be a prerequisite for academic learning, where we can be lifelong learners and learn for forever. However, if we don't feel okay by ourselves, with ourselves, then life is really tough. And obviously, being part of the EPIC community, there are so many counsellors and healers and coaches and suicide prevention people. Wouldn't it just be amazing if we could eliminate all of that? Not that I'm trying to put people out of their jobs, but I think there's so many holes in human nature and in ourselves, and we try and fill those holes with so many things. It would just be nice to get it right in the early years of childhood, that those children go on to have exceptional lives, and there's no self-doubt, there's no great waves of anxiety and, you know, having this big stress response. It would just be nice to give them some really great coping skills. There comes Miss Kim Serafini into my life, who has just packaged all that I do in my classroom, all my positive psychology learnings. She's packaged into a simple session that implements everything, and I'm able to show that into my classroom of students in 3 minutes. So as a teacher, where you'll hear all the catchphrases of time poor, crowded curriculum, traumatic experiences, how do we fit it in? 3 minutes a day can make such a massive difference to how those children are feeling, learning, and behaving. So to me, it's just a no-brainer.
Can I ask you, Vari, because I'm super interested in how that rolls out for the kids. So if this is a daily practice, which a lot of positive primers do, it's sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, depending on their day. How does that roll out for you and your kids each morning?
So, Benny, it was quite difficult for me initially, and obviously it had been part of my daily practice. Like, I don't start a day without, you know, picking up my phone and doing a positive prime session. Why wasn't I giving that to the kids that I teach in my classroom? So initially it was difficult to get people on board. There was a lot of talk of brainwashing students, and I'd like to say we're not, but we are, but it's positively brainwashing, which I think is a good thing. So basically I collect my children of a morning, bring them into my classroom, we mark the roll, and the session's playing. If there's other times during the day where things haven't quite gone as planned and children don't handle change very well, then I can put another session on. Sometimes I just have the pictures going without any sound at all, when we might be just in a quiet writing time. Then I know they're looking, it's visual stimulus, it's lowering their cortisol levels. Creativity flows far more easily when you're in that state. So it's become, you know, once I got parental permission, obviously, it has just become part of my daily practice and doesn't interfere in any other part of the day. In fact, my kids ask me, you know, are we doing positive prime this morning, if I'm a little bit more frantic or rushed. Yeah, they look forward to it. They enjoy it. We talk about it. And I've gone one step further now in my classroom, whereby my children now take photographs of things that we're looking at, whether that be being kind to somebody else, or being a good listener, or working as a team, or what do good writers do, or how do I read to myself? And they will take photographs, and then I upload that into the session. So they've now become part of a personalised session, which gets a far bigger buy-in with those younger kids. So, and I must say the older kids too, because I've actually immersed a year 5 class into it as well, and they were pretty keen to take their own photos and upload. So it's really easy. Also, if I've got, I have children who are sitting on the autistic spectrum, and if I can catch them when I know they're just about to flip their lid and things are going to go quite chaotic, I can just pull out my mobile phone. Positive Prime's always open in one of my windows, and I can just start to play a session. I can say, just come and have a look at these pictures. I don't even require the sound, and it just refocuses them long enough that I can calm them down, and then we can go on to whatever the instruction has been. So that is super powerful for me. And then that avoids the throwing furniture, being injured, other children being scared in the classroom.
You know, Vari, when you and I first connected, I'd love to take the audience back just a little bit, because what I think what opened you up to at least a self-improvement or personal development or a professional development journey was a little bit of your own story. Are you happy to talk about what happened when you were about 18? And more to the point, how that's now translated into your commitment and this responsibility you feel that you have to actually prepare children and give them resilient skills and give them the ability to have some mental fortitude and some emotional tenacity.
Yeah, absolutely, Kim. So I just finished year 12 at high school. I was going to university to be a journalist. My dad was a cameraman for the local news station. I'd lived my entire childhood in the news van or in a helicopter or in a newsroom. That's where I was headed. Unfortunately, life doesn't turn out the way that you want it always. And I was learning how to drive. It was a Saturday night. We were driving some friends home, and then we were picking up pizza and having a quiet night at home. And we were hit head on by another 17-year-old drink driver. My mum and my 4-year-old brother didn't come home from hospital for 3 months. My brother, who is now 40, was left paraplegic, and my mum had 12 broken bones and eyesight was damaged. My middle brother was uninjured, and I had some minor injuries. So from that, there was no university. My mum was divorced. She was on her own. She had a 4-year-old son. It was me. I was it. And I had to look after the both of them. And I had 2 years where it was physio, rehabilitation, lots of doctor's visits. In that time, I heard my brother, my other brother, my middle brother, and he was 15, and he said, "Oh, great, now I have a mother who can't see, no dad, and a brother who can't walk." And I couldn't believe the difference in mindset, where I just went, oh my goodness, what can I do? I've got to help my mum and my brother, where he took it as, this is my life now. And perhaps that was just at different developmental stages, or, you know, male versus female. I have no idea. Unfortunately, he went down the path of drug taking, and that's impacted his life greatly. And I just stuck by my mum and brother. So in those days, it was unheard of for inclusive education. So they wanted my brother in a home for, dare I say it, retarded kids. That you're not allowed to say that now, but that is what they said all those years back then. My brother was not brain injured. His spinal cord had been severed. In actual fact, he finished year 12 with an OP2, so he was very clever. So my mum battled to keep him out of that sort of institution. I homeschooled him for a little while because it was difficult to get him into a normal school. And then when he said for Christmas one day he would really love that his mother just sent him to school, that she was being really mean not sending him to school. So we got him into a local school, and I went and assisted in just integrating him into that environment. Then I was asked to go and help with another child in another school setting to just help her because it was so new to education. And then I just fell into the role of, I was a teacher aide for many, many years, and would have stayed being a teacher aide. It was a great job, none of the expectations and workload of a teacher, but you're there with the children. However, after my marriage breakup, I knew I couldn't afford to stay doing that. So took myself into university and started to study. So yeah, never ever thought that I was going to end up in school or teaching, but here I am, and it's just exactly where I need to be. And now my passion is just driving me to have these conversations with people, get it out there that you don't have to just fall apart when life just throws you a whole ton of awfulness, that there's lots of different paths, and I guess it's keeping that open mind. And Positive Prime certainly does that. When you're in that less anxious state, you've opened your mind to more possibilities, and I think that's why that now has become an essential part of my day, because I know that if there are opportunities out there, I'm going to take them. The fear's eliminated now, and you can just go out and have a go. And I teach that to my year ones, you know, are you a trier or a crier? Because I see a lot of crying. And of course it's okay to cry, but you can't stay crying. And, you know, and I guess that's where I'm at, that, you know, you've just got to make the most of where you're going and find your path. And I've certainly found mine. And here I am at 52. You know, who would have thought that I'd be doing a podcast with Benny Wallington and Kim Serafini? But yeah, that's, if I had have laid down and died and given up and had suicidal thoughts, then these opportunities wouldn't be there. But in that moment of devastation and blackness, it's hard to think that far ahead. So I think let's give these kids these opportunities, that there are good parts of life. And we all know our brain is just primed naturally to seek threat and negativity. And now the world is so full of it, it's easy to become consumed by that. And then what we are living in, then we put out to the world too. So I think by giving them these pictures and affirmations, where we're giving them the message that there are good parts of life, and that's where we need to focus our attention on. You know, what we focus on the most, we get the most of. So let's start with these 5, 6-year-old kids. Even earlier, I say, if we could get parents doing this at home with their children, every time they hand them a mobile phone at dinner or in a restaurant or in a shopping trolley, they could be looking at that rather than, I don't know, some of these creatures in some of these games that I see children viewing. Like, let's give them 3 minutes of something so positive and where our world should be. That's the life that we all should be living. And I think we all search for it, but it's sometimes really difficult to find. So by putting this in front of these children, their parents, we're just opening our world up to some really lovely possibilities. Do I sound a bit Pollyanna-ish there? Like, life is so good and wonderful. Life isn't good and wonderful. Life's bloody hard. But let's just pick the best bits and focus on that, and let's prime ourselves positively.
Wow, that was beautiful. Yeah, I feel like your journey has just provided you with the most amazing empathy to have towards other people who go through tough things in their life. And what a I couldn't think of a better teacher to have in year one or at any time through life. And to be able to have that vision that you've got, to that it's not just about a piece of technology, it's about the kids and the co-creation of, like, what can we make together, which is what you're talking about this future, picking out the beauty and and the true, and sharing that with others. But then also, like, how does the ripple radiate beyond just the classroom? And how does it go out to the parents? Because as we all know, we were talking about negative priming, we're talking about positive priming, and that negative priming, especially with our other technologies, a lot of the parents are spending their times in those as well, and negative priming with our television sets and all these kinds of things. So what you're doing, this new narrative that you're building within your classroom, is so powerful. And I'd love to know what you think about something like this taking hold within the wider Aussie education system, having seen where it's come from. With you sound like a pioneer in helping your little bro, and then helping out some other people in need, and then that becoming part of the education system. It feels like you are a bit of a change agent when it comes to what we can possibly expect for the future of our children. So I'd love you to chat about that.
Benny, I would love to take that on board and say, yeah, that's me. But there are some great people in the education system, and there are some amazing programs that people have put together. And, you know, I wouldn't downgrade any one of them because they all have a purpose. However, they're all time consuming. And also, if you don't have that passion, and I know as a teacher, we become overwhelmed with expectations. It's easy for a teacher to take on a very negative bias, and then that gets put on to the kids in our class. And I mean, I've been there. I've done really tough times, and it's difficult to stay positive with those children in front of you that are giving you grief all the time. That's where positive prime just makes sense to me, because it can be as long as or as short as you need it, like 3 minutes. And, you know, obviously Kim's allowed me to make my own session, because I've heard that Flight Centre use it to train their staff. So they package all of their content. How exceptional will it be that we can package school rules or you know, high learning content, and there it is in this 3-minute presentation that just keeps embedding the things that teachers wish they could put on record and repeat, that we all say the same things daily. I dare you to speak to any teacher that doesn't say, "Are you listening?" or "Turn and face me." And we can just put that in. And when you were talking about the flow-on effect, Benny, I've actually just had this wild thought and gone and purchased a very non-expensive digital camera that I'm now going to put together in a little package that my kids take home, for them to take photos of what they do with their family or their own pets, or so that they're taking that view of searching for positive things in their life, and they can take pictures, and then I can embed them into our session in the classroom too. So then I've brought their family and things that are important to them into our classroom too, because the classroom and a family life, they can't stand separated. It's a joint effort in educating these children, you know, so we have to build relationships. And of course, you know, I'm going to have to vet these photos before I put them into a session, because who knows what goes on in some families. However, I just think that just opens up so many opportunities, and it gets conversations started in families, in households, about what's happening in my classroom and the effects too. So that's my next project, is my take-home camera, and letting children focus on those things. Of course, their parents are going to receive a letter from me saying what it is they will be doing. I'm expecting that sometimes that camera won't return to my classroom. It'll be kept at home. However, that's the risk that I'm prepared to take in doing this, and just growing our positive prime session. I just want to maximise that 3 minutes the best way that I can. Did I actually answer that, Benny? Maybe I talked in circles.
No, Vari, do you know what? You actually do have an example, don't you, of a child who has now engaged a parent in watching Positive Prime?
Yeah, it was strange because I sent a letter home for an opt-out. So parents had the option of saying they didn't want their child to watch Positive Prime. And I received no feedback until this one mum came to me and said, you know, what is this Positive Prime? Oh no, here we go. However, she was searching for something for herself. And she and her daughter now view this together, which is really exciting for me because that becomes part of my talk in my classroom when she says, oh, I've seen that one. My mum and I watched that one. We looked at that last night. So that was pretty exciting for me. And I think that's where I'd ultimately love to see this go. It would be fabulous if every teacher in the world could do it. I'm going to be in the process of training a couple of other staff members to start implementing Positive Prime in their rooms. And I think that even if they're not passionate or don't understand it, I think just by having it playing in that room for 3 minutes, that teacher, that educator can't not take that visual stimuli in. So I'm really hoping that that will have an ongoing effect with the staff member, even if they're not fully engaged. We know how much stimuli our retinas can take in a second. So if it's just playing there, I really think that, and that's going to make a change. That's going to lower the cortisol levels of that teacher. That has a massive impact on a classroom environment just by a teacher being calmer, more relaxed, more open, more empathetic. So, yeah, it should be in every home, every classroom, every staff meeting. Let's just spread the word.
Amazing. Yeah, you did answer my question because I think that's we're talking about, the ripple, you know, like how can we share this, and how can kids take it home? How can they co-create with their own families? How can they then bring it back? You're creating like a little ecosystem where kids can get inspired. And I think more and more parents will continue to get inspired, especially once they see the results in the kids, right? That's like the most
Fan
beautiful thing.
Benny.
Yeah, even if they're feeling a little bit flat, because I think for talking about Positive Prime, it's a lot of the time it's to watch a session when you're just feeling a little bit low, or just to get you from good to great. But then, as we know, there's also the power of, you know, putting those images in that the children might be aspiring to be. You know, what do the kids where do they want to get to? Maybe they don't want to be astronauts anymore. Maybe they do. Maybe they want to build their own technologies and all this kinds of stuff. My partner's a teacher, and the creative ideas that come out of the children through primary school are just as good, if not better, than the ones we adults come up with. And I'm sure you're aware of that. And so this has been amazing. I really love to continue the dialogue and hear more about the stories that are coming out through your classroom. And also that real nugget is that you're building a little bit of a blueprint so you can teach other teachers, teach the teacher, how to implement it in the classroom. And I couldn't think of anyone better to be doing that. So I'm fascinated to hear how that rolls out, how the other teachers pick it up, how we can simply get the technology and just this concept of positively priming for children and teachers everywhere, and their parents and their grandparents and their little brothers and sisters who haven't made it to school yet. And so, yeah, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And I'd love to throw over to Kim. Did you have any other questions?
Vari, tell me something. In your ideal world, what's the session content that you would like to see us develop for children?
Oh, that's a tough one because I have been in the process of working to make my own session, and yeah, a lot of thought went into that. So I think it's really about I'm okay. I'm okay is the message that I really want to send to every student in my class. And you may be a little bit broken or a big bit broken, but you are okay. And I think creating kindness in your classroom where everyone's accepted, there's no judgment, and that even goes down to, you know, teacher to teacher or teacher to parent or parent to teacher, because it's all automatic to judge. And I'll never forget a story of my brother. You know, he just started a so-called normal school. He was making friends. My mum was really excited because the prospects hadn't been great if we had have listened to medical experts. And he got invited to a friend's house, and he went to play, and his mother relayed the story of he went to visit his grandma that afternoon, and grandma said, "What did you do today?" And she said, "Oh, I played with my friend David. He's got a dog and he's got a pool and never once said, and he's in a wheelchair." And that really stood out to me, that kids aren't automatically predisposed to look for the differences, but somehow we, as a society, go there and we pigeonhole people and we label people. And I think it would be just really lovely to just send that message that I'm okay. And even if you're not okay now, you can be. You know, I'm not okay yet, but I can be. And Benny, I know you can speak from experience where, you know, your life may not have been exactly on track. And I bet your mum was really worrying about your future. However, you know, you come out the other end. I don't want kids to give up. I don't want suicide to be the automatic go-to. Self-harming, suicide, you know, that's they think that's the answer. Let's give them a better answer. Let's give them a brighter future.
Experience. What would you say to someone who's feeling like that, who can't see the light through the dark? How would you help them on their way?
That this is one moment. It's one moment in a great big picture, and we don't know how that picture's going to turn out. And you take that paintbrush and you add to your portrait, you add to your journey every single day, and you can choose to paint really negative, harsh things with cruel words, or you can paint something else, but it changes. It doesn't stay like that forever. You know, my brother ended up, you know, building a beautiful house on the canals and getting married. And, you know, we never thought that was possible at 4 when they told us that he would probably die, be brain injured, be paralyzed from the neck down, you know, and he's gone ahead like, you know, and I know I could tell you a million stories of people in wheelchairs that have just turned their lives around, because obviously that was my world for many, many years. So when you're in that moment of darkness and it's really, really difficult to see the light, but I think if we're creating a society and new generation where we have empathy, all it takes is for someone to say, it will be okay. You know, things just don't last. This is just one drop in the bucket. It's a tiny moment of your life, and your life can just go anywhere if you allow it to.
I absolutely love that of the paintbrush. I love the painting. You know, how are we going to paint positivity into our lives? And we can paint anything we like. And I think it's actually the power of the Positive Prime platform is we can put the images that resonate with us or where we want to get to, and we can paint that future that we want, and it brings us closer. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both.